Forward head posture is often described as an issue regarding tight traps, a tight neck, and just an inability to know where to hold your head in space. So they might prescribe things like trap stretches or just chin tucks to help re-educate the neck into a better position. But this is often just a symptom of the underlying cause, which is an inability to breathe, and it's a degree of suffocation because the rib cage cannot expand in the front. But to understand this, we should appreciate the anatomy that's going into this issue and what we can do to address the underlying cause. So when we have a rib cage in the front that's depressed and it's down, these muscles like the pecs right here could be players in compressing the rib cage in the front. So when this happens and I have compression here, that pulls my shoulders forward, which in essence is also going to pull my head forward. And then you'll see this posture like this, but it's not because the traps are tight. The traps are tight because we can't get air in here to expand and bring everything back. When we inhale, we should have a degree of the shoulders coming back, but if we can't expand here, then that's going to be really difficult. We might be stuck in this forward head orientation, and chin tucks aren't really going to be able to get the job done because we're not addressing the underlying cause. As I've mentioned in many videos before, our diaphragm is a big player in inhalation, so this is obviously going to be correlated to this video as well. When we inhale, the diaphragm should descend. When we exhale, it should ascend, and it should go to a resting position. But when we have compression here, that limits our diaphragm from doing its job correctly. So we have accessory inhalation muscles, meaning they're secondary to the action of the diaphragm, and they should be helping the diaphragm to a slight degree, not be the primary movers in the act of inhalation. But when we're compressed here, the muscles like the sternocleidoid mastoid and the scalenes, which attach on the first two ribs of the front rib cage, they will go into overdrive. And they will say, oh my gosh, there's so much compression going on in the front of my rib cage. I've got to get this thing to elevate and these ribs to come up so that way I can get air into this compressed, very rigid rib cage that cannot expand. So these muscles will then become very tight and concentrically oriented and try to pull up on the ribs, which is going to then tighten them, which is going to pull our head forward. And then our traps are placed in a concentric and tight state. And then the rest of the neck follows suit. So if we're only doing things like chin tucks and trying to release our traps, we're still not going to be able to get a bunch of air that we need into our rib cage. Therefore, it's not the most optimal solution. We want to drive air in here, and the best way to do that is to reach in a forward position. That's going to allow us to concentrically orient or tighten the muscles on the back of our rib cage. You might look at this position right here and go, wait a second, you're opening up your back, aren't you? Well, not necessarily, because our scapular muscles, which help our shoulder blade move, become tighter and more concentrically oriented the higher our hands get. So around here, just in terms of biomechanics and anatomy, this is going to be the position where we are maximizing air going forward into our rib cage, assuming we can keep our pecs off. So you can try this with me. You can reach straight ahead and you can tighten your pecs, and then you can see how that's going to restrict the rib cage, or you can reach forward, the ribs come back, and you can relax your pecs. That's what we're going to be looking for on the following two exercises. For this exercise, get in a quadruped position, meaning your hands are underneath your shoulders and your knees are underneath your hips. You want to slightly tuck your tailbone, posteriorly tilt just a little bit. You might feel your hamstrings turn on. That's good. And then unlock your elbows, keep a neutral head, breathe out through your mouth in a relaxed fashion until you feel your side abs, your obliques kick on, not necessarily your six pack. And then pause with your mouth closed and inhale through your nose. You might feel a little expansion in the front, and you will get expansion in the back to some degree. But gravity's acting down on us to push down, which is going to allow us to expand the front of our rib cage. For this exercise, get about a foot away from the wall and then slightly tuck your tailbone and unlock your knees until you feel your hamstrings. You might not feel your hamstrings that much. That's okay. Just make sure you're tucked and you're feeling your weight in your heels. Push into that wall at about a 90-degree angle with your elbows and forearms. That'll bring your ribs back. Keep a neutral head. Make sure your shoulders are down out of your ears. And then you just want to breathe just like the last exercise. Out through your mouth until you feel your side abs. Pause and then inhale through your nose. Do this for about 5 breaths each on both exercises. As a bonus exercise for the weight room, just get on an inclined bench to a slight degree with a light dumbbell and then reach for the ceiling and then just keep that pec off. And this is gonna get a little bit higher expansion in the rib cage because of the higher reach. That's okay and can be beneficial for driving air even higher.